Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video here on the channel, and in today's video we are going to be doing a deep dive into the Whaley house. It's another episode of Most Haunted Buildings, so without further ado, let's get into it. So, a bit of backstory. Thomas Whaley was born on the October 5th, 1823 in New York City, and he was the seventh child of a family of 10. Whaley took over his father's successful business relations, then left New York on January 1st, 1849. He travelled to San Francisco during the California Gold Rush, where he engaged in business. He then went to San Diego in September 1851, and 2 years later, Whaley went back to New York and married Anna Eloise Delaunay. Anna. On August 14th, 1853. Together, they returned to California, arriving in San Diego on December 7th, 1853. On August the 22nd, 1857, the Whaleys moved into their new home, now known as the Whaley house. Thomas and Anna Whaley had 6 children. Francis Hilton, who was born on December 28th, 1854, Thomas Whaley Jr., August 18th, 1856, Anna Amelia, June 27th, 1858, George Hay Ringgold, November 5th, 1860, Violet Eloise, October 14th, 1862, and Corinne Lillian, September 4th, 1864. Francis Hilton was named after a business partner. Thomas Whaley Jr. suffered from scarlet fever at 18 months and died on January 29th, 1858. After the death of baby Thomas and the loss by fire of their store, Thomas and Anna moved to San Francisco. In January 1859, Whaley turned his affairs in Old Town over to Frank Arnes, a Wells Fargo agent. In the summer of 1868, Thomas invested some of his new capital stock in merchandise and headed back to San Diego. Thomas fixed up the old Whaley house, and Anna and the rest of the family arrived back home to San Diego on December 12th, 1868. Now, on January 5th, 1882, Violet Eloise Whaley and Anna Amelia Whaley were both married in Old San Diego. Violet married George T. Bertolotti, and Anna Amelia wed her first cousin, John T. Whaley, son of Henry Hurst Whaley, inside the family home. Unfortunately for Violet, just shortly after the nuptials, her new husband revealed to her, in a letter, his sordid past. Bertolotti was a con artist who only married Violet in hopes of inheriting some of the Whaley family fortunes. George T. That's a lot of confusing names. Vowed to prove his worthiness, but Mr. and Mrs. Whaley would try to sever all contact with George T. Bertolotti. Bertolacci. Anyway, it kind of goes downhill from here because suffering of melancholy and most probably depression, Violet committed suicide by shooting herself in the chest with Thomas's .32 caliber on August 19th, 1885. She was then 22 years of age. Her suicide notes read, "Mad from life's history, swift to death's mystery, glad to be hurried anywhere out of this world." Pretty sad. Now, this suicide note was a passage from Bridge of Sighs, a poem by Thomas Hood. This particular poem is also offered up by Edgar Allan Poe, a very famous poet, as an example of painting with words. He spoke of it, and it was referenced in his published works during his lectures. Corinne Lillian was engaged at the time of her sister's death, but her fiancé broke off the engagement due to the scandal it raised. After these tragic events, Thomas Whaley built a single-story frame home for his family at 933 State Street in downtown San Diego, and the family moved into this new residence, leaving the Whaley house vacant for over 2 decades. Francis Whaley married Susan E. Murray in Mendocino, California, in December 31st, 1888. On December 14th, 1890, Thomas Whaley died due to ill health at the State Stress address. Anna Amelia Whaley died at Modesto, California on December 12th of 1905. Meanwhile, the old Whaley house remained vacant and fell into despair. In late 1909, Francis Whaley undertook the restoration of the building and turned the home into a tourist attraction, where he posted signs promoting its historically and entertained visitors with his guitar. Anna Whaley, Thomas's widow, Corinne Lillian, Francis and George all lived in this old Whaley house in the Whaley house in 1912. On February 24th, 1913, Anne died at the age of 80 years old. A year later, Francis Whaley died on November 19th, 1914. George Whaley then died on January 5th, 1928 in San Diego, and Corinne Lillian Whaley continued residency at the house until her death in 1953. Now, a bit of context into this old Whaley house, or the Whaley house in itself. It's located at the Old Town neighborhood of San Diego. The historic house opened as a museum on May 25th, 1960, managed by the San Diego Historical Shrine Foundation, a non-profit organization formed in 1956 and led by James E. Redding and June A. Strudwick Redding. June Strudwick Redding served as the director of the Whaley House Museum from 1960 until her death in January 1998. The Whaley House has been maintained by Save Our Heritage Organisation, or SHO, Soho, since 2000. Since 2007, a live-in caretaker has lived on the property to prevent theft and vandalism. The two-storey house was designed by Thomas Whaley himself, and construction began on May 6, 1856, and was completed in 1857. The cost of the house was more than $10,000. It was made from bricks created in Whaley's backyard on Conn Street. The house was the first of its kind in San Diego. And Thomas Whaley said himself, "My new house, when completed, will be the handsomest, most comfortable and convenient place in town, or within 150 miles of here." Whaley's new house was known as the finest in Southern California. The house was furnished with mahogany and rosewood furniture, Brussels carpets and damask drapes, and was considered a mansion for its time and place. The residence became the gathering place for San Diego. Besides being the Whaley House home, the family home, it was also San Diego's first commercial theatre, the county courthouse, and a general store. In October of 1868, an upstairs family bedroom was converted into a theatre after Thomas Whaley rented the room out to Tanner Troupe, a local theatre troupe travelling through San Diego at the time. For the troupe's opening night performance, the small room accommodated a stage, a few benches, and an astonishing 150 guests, although it was mostly standing room only, and ladies had been advised to not wear their hoop skirts or petticoats that evening to allow for more room. The operator of the theatre, Thomas Tanner, died just 17 days after opening, and his troupe had disbanded by the end of January 1969. The Whaley House also served as the county courtroom in 1869 for $65 a month. The county of San Diego leased the courtroom and 3 of the upstairs bedrooms. Another part of the Whaley House history was the Whaley and Crosthwaite General Store, which was a wholesale and retail store. In the 1860s and 1870s, the house became the focal point of a battle between Old Town residents and residents of New Town, downtown. For dominance of San Diego, the San Diego County government had been renting a portion of the Whaley House for its offices and records. Whaley offered several times to sell the house to the county, but the offers were ignored. Newtowners demanded that the county offices and records to be moved to Newtown. The issue dominated local elections, with Republicans favouring Newtown while Democrats favoured Old Town. There were conflicting court orders, and at one point the local sheriff was ordered to seize the Whaley House, but he refused. A judge ordered the removal of 3 supervisors from the Board of Supervisors, and another judge tried to appoint 3 other men to the posts. After several years of the court battles, the Californian Supreme Court ordered the reinstatement of 3 original supervisors, who ordered that the county records to be moved to Newtown, despite threats of armed resistance from the old towners. The records were moved on March 31st, 1871, effectively shifting the focus of the city now to Newtown. However, on May 17th, 2002, the San Diego Supreme Court extended its venue to the Whaley House courtroom for 1 day to recognize the significance of the one-room courthouse. The late pioneer judges and the then landlords of the Whaley family, Judge Richard S. Whitney, presided over civil proceedings 150 years after the courtroom had last been used in its official capacity. Now, the rumours of hauntings at this house. Shortly after the Whaley family moved in, they told the San Diego Union that they had heard heavy footsteps in the house, which they believed to be the ghost of James "Yankee Jim" Robinson, who had earlier been hanged on the property for stealing a boat. And that's just many reports of Yankee Jim. There's also a little children that roam throughout the place, and there's many if you search online for videos of the Whaley House and paranormal sightings, it is very scary to see all of these, because there is a lot of sightings that take place there. But it's also been exploited, this house, in television and film, and it is featured in many historical documentaries, as well as a wide variety of paranormal and sci-fi shows, including Sci-Fi Channel's Fact or Fate Paranormal Files, and Travel Channel's America's Most Haunted, in which it was stated the Whaley House was the most supernatural home in the United States. The Whaley House was also mentioned in the 2007 animated movie Hellboy Blood and Iron, in which one of the characters references the paranormal entity Yankee Jim. In 2012, the film studio Asylum released an independent low-budget movie titled The Haunting of Whaley House. Although the film was shot on location at the historic Bembridge House on Long Beach, California, the history and ghostly legends of the Whaley House were used as a basis for the movie. Again, in 2012, the Whaley House was featured on the biography channels The Haunting of Regis Philbin. And while filming for a local San Diego morning show in 1964, Regis Philbin visited the Whaley House Museum and claimed to have a paranormal encounter with Mrs. Whaley. Philbin stated, and this is words coming from Philbin, "You know, a lot of people poo-poo it because they can't see it, but there was something going on in that house." And then on an episode of MTV's Ridiculousness, host Rob Dyrdek commented that he lived next to the world's most haunted house in California and would spend nights calling for Old Man Whaley. In 2014, the Whaley house was featured on Ghost Adventurers as the main investigation of the series. 110th episode. And then in 2017, the house was featured in the first season, the 6th episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved Supernatural, for a paranormal investigation. The video gathered over 12 million views on YouTube, and this is as of 2021. A Ghost Files episode, also aired in 2022, featured the Whaley house as Shane Madej and Ryan Bergara returned under Watcher, their new company formed after BuzzFeed Unsolved. And that's just the start of looking deep into the Whaley house hauntings. This is a really fascinating case, and if you want to do research on it, yeah, sure, you can. But it's fascinating. It really is fascinating to see what ghosts haunt, and especially the most predominant ghost, which I believe haunts the courthouse now, which is Yankee Jim Robertson. That's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.